All right, you are now tuned into the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Gabe, and Goose. Cheesesteaks. In this episode, the crew is all about the food talk. We cover topics that range from mom and pop shops, food chains, Philly's obsession, placing order, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Julia Child and M.F.K. Fisher. Guys, if you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Kicking things off, gentlemen. Cheesesteaks.
Yep. So yummy.
What happened was we came upon the episode number 215. That's our area code.
Yep.
We are part of the Philadelphia metropolitan area, and obviously Philly's known for a bunch of things. One of them is, tasty cakes, food as in cheesesteaks.
The
Liberty Bell. And your Philadelphia Phillies. No, I'm only kidding.
Sometimes you choose to forget that.
But no, in all seriousness, cheesesteaks is one of them, and everyone has their opinion on it. But we just thought it'd be kind of like a play on, the number of 215. We all love cheesesteaks here, and so why not do an episode on it, right? All right. So if there's people out there listening, not quite sure what a cheesesteak is, because we have listeners from all over the world, and so it sounds funny for us to define it, but I don't necessarily define really what it is outside of, I thought there was an article on visitphilly.com I found that was pretty good. It kind of sums it up, and again, those locals will probably argue it or whatever it is, but just the general concept, guys, relax. All right, so we wanted to do a show on cheesesteaks, right? Because cheesesteaks here in Philadelphia are an icon, a draw for visitors, and a cultural obsession. Mm-hmm. The quote from them, often imitated around the world, the Philly cheesesteak is rarely duplicated successfully outside of Philadelphia.
Yes. 100%.
Very, very true.
Absolutely.
Yep. They define it as a cheesesteak is a long, crusty roll filled with thinly sliced sautéed ribeye beef and melted cheese. Generally, the cheese of choice is Cheese Whiz, but American, mild, sharp, or provolone are common substitutions. Here recently, me and Gabe were just talking about Cooper. Anyway, the art of cheesesteak preparation lies in the balance of flavors, textures, and what is often referred to as the drip factor.
Yes.
Other toppings may include fried onions, sautéed mushrooms, ketchup, hot or sweet peppers. Some sandwich shops also offer cheesesteak hoagie, a hybrid version that combines a cheesesteak with cold hoagie dressings like lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise. Cheesesteaks are fast, portable, and readily available at steak shops, delis, food trucks, pizzerias, and some even high-end restaurants throughout the region. So, where in the world did this bad boy come from? The cheesesteak made its official debut in 1930 when South Philadelphia hot dog vendor Pat Olivieri slapped some beef from the butcher onto his grill. A taxi cab driver noticed the alluring aroma and asked for his own steak sandwich. The next day, as the story goes, a rumor of the delicious lunch had spread and cabbies around the city came to Olivieri demanding steak sandwiches. Soon after, he opened up a shop on 9th Street and Passyunk Avenue, Pat's, King of Steaks, to sell his new creation. Eventually, according to legend, he added cheese to the recipe. Today, Pat's grills 24 hours a day, as does circa 1966 Geno's, the rival shop across the street. For decades, the two family-run businesses have waged a friendly competition to win the title of best cheesesteak in town, with Geno's late founder, Joe Vento, claiming it was he, not Olivieri, who first added cheese to the cheesesteak. Philly is king when it comes to cheesesteak. Now, guys, that was an article read out of, visitphilly.com.
Sure.
For any more additional historical points, we're talking very general here in our conversation today, but thought that was, it was short and sweet, and obviously you want to dig up some more information. To be honest with you, when we were brought into the game, it was just the natural competition between Pat's and Geno's. That's how it kind of started for me. Yeah. And then you start, trickling down, and, you find all these other, very good places
Sure.
Around the city. So it's basically preference, right? And so it's kind of like, even, my wife, who's also from Philly, has a preference, doesn't like for them to even put the cheese on for her. She says sometimes that they put way too much. By the time you get home, it's all soggy. It's all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Wait, so you order a cheesesteak and she puts her own cheese on it when she gets home?
She asks for cheese on the side. So it's melted cheese, so it gets them in like a little Dixie cup.
So she gets the cheese whiz?
Yes.
Okay. She pours it herself. She don't like
Pours
the
it
drip
herself.
factor.
Gotcha.
The drip factor?
Okay, well, I guess we'll get to that part.
And we'll get to that part, right? But anyway, so again, just for basic, reasons here, we're keeping it kind of general, and everyone basically has their own preferences, right? And again, for the Philly cheesesteak, we just say cheesesteak. Everyone keeps saying Philly cheesesteak or Philadelphia cheesesteak or whatever. Yeah. We just say cheesesteak. I didn't even know until you go to out of our state and people say Philly style cheesesteak or Philadelphia like cheesesteak. Yeah. You're like, what? Yeah. What is that?
So weird.
And so we just get cheesesteaks around here.
It's not anything what you get in the.
No,
it's
not
not
at all.
you order a traditional cheesesteak here.
I remember watching, I want to say it was the Phillies or something or another, and they were doing something, but it wasn't in Philadelphia. And where they were it was another state where they said, "Oh, look, the we're playing the home of the Philadelphia cheesesteaks," and it looked like this most disgusting, drawn out steak. And I'm like, "What is that?" It had white cheese, and it was like regular green peppers thrown on top of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not a cheesesteak. Like cheesesteak, a typical topping would be fried onions on a cheesesteak,
right?
Not peppers. So when I saw that, and it was just like the provolone cheese wasn't even melted. It was just like, that's an embarrassment to say Philadelphia's cheesesteak.
Because I don't know where the green and red peppers, whatever combination of that is, like where that came from.
I'm not sure, but a lot of people like it.
Yeah. But that became what's considered the Philly cheesesteak outside of Philadelphia.
Yes, exactly. Like I don't know where that concept really came. I remember I worked at a deli and people would ask for sweet peppers. I mean, peppers is like a common thing now.
But stuff like that is a preference, like additional stuff. But the basic cheesesteak is doesn't contain that at all.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And now you go to any of our professional sports complexes, where it's the Sixers, Flyers, Eagles, Phillies. There's a cheesesteak place in there, and you can get, it's pretty good. I won't say, it's going to knock you out of the park, so to speak. But, it's the general concept, not bad. And again, there's all kinds to choose from Tony Luke's, Jim's on South Street, De Lissandro's, Steve's, Campos, Pat's, Gino's, Shanks, Max's, Phillips, Joe's, Jimmy G's, Sonny's, Cleaver's, etc. They're all over the city, and those are, some of the top ones in the city. But, the more and more you start to talk to people about cheesesteaks, and we're part of, several groups, there are some mom and pop shops out there crushing it with very delicious cheesesteaks. I know here locally, Gleason's is one that commonly comes up. Cafe Carmela constantly comes up. Curly's. These guys locally are, they're really crushing it. And then, and we're kind of we're basically in the suburbs. So when they're kind of trickling down from the city, it's kind of nice to see that we still get that, high quality cheesesteak trickling on down. Now, the difference here is, the pizzerias that are now offering them, or the delis that offer them. I mean, this has been for several decades now, but it's not technically the same.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't really specialize on this. So you got to understand. So there's cheesesteak spots that just do cheesesteaks. And if that's what you want, you're going to get a totally different vibe. And again, it's all preference. Some people like the pizzeria place style cheesesteaks. It's up to you. And basically what we did yesterday was we tried to mix it up as much as possible. It was unfortunately during the Eagles game, so there was a lot of delay, and a lot of what the COVID stuff was kind of hard to put in a single cheesesteak order and have it back at the spot when it's not too soggy. So we couldn't go too far out. So we kind of went outside of the city. We got with or without Steve's. There's two pizzerias that we went to, was Amato's and Giovanni's. And we kind of ate them. We chopped them up in four, and all four of us went for it. Tasted them, very different on each one. And I don't know, does anyone chime in on that experience?
Because I guess the way we did it too was like it was kind of like half and half. Like two are like the South Philly styles, which is like
Yes.
the Pasaginos or like and obviously one was literally Steve's, and the other two were like the more traditional, like kind of your pizzeria style cheesesteaks.
Yes. And then the two pizzeria styles, they had American cheese on them, so we didn't get crazy with it. We also didn't get fried onions, which typically my order would be with fried onions. And then the traditional Steve's and with or without, they have almost the cheese sauce, the cheese whiz, and then I'm not really 100% sure if Steve's is Cheese Whiz or if it's just a cheese sauce. You can taste the difference when it's the actual Cheese Whiz brand.
Definitely noticed that.
And I believe Pat's also uses Cheese Whiz brand.
Okay.
So to also tap on that, so we're saying traditional pizza shops. Not everyone knows that the like Steve's is actually slabs of steak that they don't chop up, and then when you go to a pizza shop, they chop it up real fine, kind of like a diced up meat and stuff like that. So it's a different consistency on the meat itself. So that makes a difference also. So when you get one of those, you're like, it's from a pizza shop. It's not from
100%. And you could also tell, there's places like Curly's, I know for sure, where they're really cutting the ribeye that morning and serving it. So it's not like a frozen thing. Where some of these pizza shops, they're coming in, wax paper, individualized, and it's probably about 5x8 rectangle of just frozen steak.
Pre-sliced.
Pre-sliced. And then that's when you get it, you throw it on a grill, and you have no other option but to start chopping it. Yeah. And so that's when you get the diced up, version of, versus when it's fresh, they kind of just have these, I would say it's about 2x3 rectangles of, it's just like a slab of steak. And the other thing too is the quality of steak. When you're eating these cheesesteaks, you can kind of tell meat quality.
Right.
There's some that have more fat than others.
Yeah.
And again, that's preference. Some people don't mind that. Some people kind of get grossed out by that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And so I know the ones that come in like, the pizzerias or whatever, the mom and pop shops, they're kind of like, if they're not doing it the way Curly's is doing it and they're just getting it right out of the freezer, which mind you, that's exactly how chicken cheesesteaks are also made in these places. And it just depends because you could right off the bat, you could tell the quality.
Sure.
Right. The quality of meat, you're just like, woo. That goes.
They're not specializing in steaks as like Steve's and Curly's, or not Curly's to say, but
it's just an
Steve's
offering.
Without,
yeah. I think they're just tapping into some of these places. Pizza are bomb, and so
you're
really going there for the pizza, and then sometimes like, let me get a couple cheesesteaks just for the guys who are watching, football. Get some wings. It's just kind of you get it there. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm going to these pizza places, pizzerias, or whatever, just for a cheesesteak. We did that yesterday just because that's what we were testing out, testing the waters or whatever. The other thing is too is the amount of meat that is placed into
oh man, that's a key factor.
Because there's some places that pride themselves on plumping up a sandwich like no other. And to be honest with you, when we say the roll, it's a traditional, it's about 12-inch roll. Sometimes they get bigger, sometimes they're smaller. It just depends. You get some places that cut off one end of the bun. You get other places that it's cut on both sides. You get other places that have the full roll. You also have ones that have seeded rolls, and when I say seeded, I mean sesame.
Well, there's Gitanos that does the same thing with poppy seeds right here in Croydon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they're and what's crazy, I didn't even think of that. Their cheesesteaks, they serve it on garlic bread.
I've seen that.
So they put garlic, get the bread, and then they put like the garlic butter and all that stuff on top, and then throw the cheesesteak on top of it. That's good. And they have the sesame seed on it and stuff like that.
So they have sesame seed.
Sesame seed, yeah. They use sesame road.
Poppy seed on a spot in Camden. It's called Donkeys. It's a Kaiser roll to top it off. So it's like a circular roll, and that they're putting, and it's poppy. But people always make fun of them, right? And it's like, there goes, Jersey trying to ruin something that whatever.
Yeah. I've never heard of that. That's actually interesting.
I've never had them, but people rave about this place, Donkeys. But anyway, long story short, that was going back to the roll. the other thing is the freshness of the roll, right?
Yes.
And so you can get rolls. I know that thing was from like the day before. And a lot of this happens with the mom and pop shops because going back to what Heck said, they don't specialize just in cheesesteaks, right? They're doing a bunch of other stuff. So they're not necessarily flying off the handle with all these rolls.
Because the rolls they're using for a bunch of different kinds of sandwiches.
Right.
Exactly.
Hoagies and all that. Yeah, absolutely.
Where these steak places, that's all they're using it for. So they're going. They're constantly fresh. Every morning to get new deliveries.
Yeah.
And you can tell the difference. And the roll makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
Huge factor. So stacked with meat, huge factor with the quality and freshness of a roll, right? And then, you go into the, and obviously we talked about the quality of the meat, and then you go into the flavor, because some of these places are flavoring the meat, right? And I'm pretty sure Curly's, I want to say, does this, and it is amazing. Like, you can literally just eat, you don't even need cheese. Like, you can just eat that steak, and it's, my mouth is watering. It's so flavorful. And from my understanding, there's a couple places like Cafe Carmela and who has a seated roll as well, and same as Gleason's. Those are local shops here that are just phenomenal and will go up against the best, right? They're not shy with the amount of meat. They're high quality meat, fresh rolls. They're ready to rock and roll. And then there's some like level of flavor into the meat. The thing for me, which I know sounds it's a deal breaker for me, is the cheese. And so you can taste. Everyone's had cheap cheese. I don't care who you are. And everyone's had pretty good cheese. And you can tell that there's a difference in quality when it comes to that. And there's some mom and pop shops, same thing. They're just getting them by the bundle, and they're using whatever, whatever they have there, whatever the American cheese brand is or whatever. They're also getting a cheese sauce and not cheese whiz. And this cheese sauce could be some knockoff brand, whatever. Some might be good, And then you have places using the cheese whiz brand. It's an actual brand, right? And my thing is the amount. There's some people that there's a little pet peeve of mine, but it is what it is. I think it's part of the process. They're making them so fast, and they're flying like off the grill so fast that they get that little scoop, and they're like pouring it on, and sometimes it's a little too much, or sometimes it's not enough. It's like one or the other. It's hard to find, the perfect mix.
Sure.
But anyway, so cheese to me is a big factor. And nowadays, they're getting into all kinds of different cheeses, not just the traditional cheese whiz anymore. Like we traditionally think of the Pats and the Genos, which they also, I believe, they offer other kinds of cheeses, but that's kind of what they made their name from. Because now they have the white American sauce that that you can put, which I know the most infamous, best tasting one in my opinion is a spot called Chicky and Pete's, which is also local. But that was more for their crab fries, and you're dipping it in that, and then it was like, oh my gosh, this would be banging on cheesesteak too. And then all of a sudden that kind of
so on topic of the cheese, the mom and pop shops, they use the white American cheese, so that people know that the type of, we're going over the cheese things. So typically when you go into those mom and pop shops, you order a cheesesteak, and they're going to say, once you say cheesesteak, it's right off the bat. They don't give you a choice of cheeses. It's
not all places, because the deli I worked at.
Well, you can ask for. Some people might ask for provolone, but I mean, for the most part,
like the default version.
If you say, "Oh, cheesesteak,"
yes,
you're getting the squared American cheese that they put on a hoagie or something like that. And then when you go to these other places like Steve's, we keep mentioning Steve's. It's close by us, but they use the orange cheese sauce, the cheddar cheese sauce, and then as per request, you can also get the American cheese sauce.
Yeah, so you say American with, American without, whiz without. There's a bunch of stuff there. But to go back on the meat, I feel like we're going all over the place, but still, to go back on the meat, because I remember I was a cook at a deli, and there is a burn taste that you experience if the steak was left on the grill too long. And now that's a thing that changes the entire sandwich. That could be a complete turnoff to some people, where you get that little burnt whatever. And one of the places, I'm not going to mention the name, but one of the places we had from last night had that. And it reminded me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember our boss was like, if you have that means you left it on the grill too long. Don't serve that. Kind of just keep it moving.
But is that also a request? Like, would some people order that?
I've never heard of that.
Okay.
No, because you get to a point where it's like, it's not even well done. It's like it's burnt.
Beyond.
I mean, the steak is so thin that you can only cook it so much.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
So basically, what happens is they have the steaks, they lay them on the grill, and they're waiting. Then they throw the cheese on there for the cheese to melt.
Right.
For these traditional, mom and pop shops that don't have the sauce.
Yeah.
And then, you're talking to another customer's putting in an order because you have to wait for that to melt. Another customer's taking an order, you get distracted. It's on there too long, and all of a sudden you see the cheese kind of bubble right over the meat,
yeah.
and then you scoop it with the spatula, throw it on the roll, and you see it's so dark on the one side. Like, this thing got torched.
Yeah.
And you could taste that. It's just not a good, it's just not a good.
It tastes like, I mean, even if it's edible, it's like super dry and all that stuff, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's edible. It's just has like this burnt taste. Maybe some people like it and don't mind it.
But yeah, it is. Some parts I do like on the ends. Sometimes it's dry. It's a little more dry and kind of tough to eat.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then to go with the more traditional, like salt and pepper, people ask for that. That is also very traditional in the the pizzeria deli arena. That's like a normal thing. Salt, pepper, ketchup. Like it's like it flies out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Same thing with a cheeseburger. Salt, pepper, ketchup, and lettuce, tomato, onions. Like exactly what they're saying. And they did mention a cheesesteak hoagie, which is a whole other variation. But that was kind of normal. The thing that wasn't so much for me was when people asked for mayo on the roll with then the cheesesteak, and then I was like, oh no. But then again,
I'm a secret fan of mayo and ketchup on my cheesesteak.
All right, so there you go. So some people love that
like
stuff.
it.
Again, this whole conversation, that's what I go back to, is not to stir up controversy. It's to more of an intro thing, and it's just preference. Some people like it. Some people are some people are diehard Pats, diehard Genos, diehard Steves, De La Sandros, whatever. Any spot in Philly that's in their preference the best. They're just diehard that, right? And sometimes you can't really talk people out of it. No, this is the best. No, this is the best. And that's not what this is. This is we enjoy them all, and we're just kind of more giving what's out there, what to expect. You go up, you start ordering, and there was this stigma. I would say it was like in the 90s, early 2000s when you ordered. And it was like people were scared to order because it was like, oh my gosh, because there's actual signs I think out front some of these establishments saying
they made a weird thing about it.
Yeah, if you mess up on your order, you got to go to the end of the line if you don't order the proper way. But I generally think it was supposed to be a joke.
Yeah.
And then people were like, oh no,
Way too serious.
Yeah, and then it became a joke too. I mean, people were like, oh no, don't mess up on your order because you're going to go at the end of the line.
You got to explain to them what the order is, how to say it.
Yeah. So So it's like if you want whiz, that's the obviously the yellow cheese sauce, and if you want onions, you say with. So it's whiz with or whiz without, and then you'll get that. Without is obviously without the fried onions, and then or American with, American without. Depends on the location or place. Some of them have that offering, some of them don't. You could say provolone, you could say no cheese, you could say cheese on the side, American on the side, whiz on the side. They don't get offended. But that's a good point that was just brought up about the fried onions. The fried onions is another thing that kills me. I like chopped up fried onions. I don't like the long, stringy onions. Some are not even and they have to be sauteed. Like don't give me no fresh onion on the cheesesteak. I know I've had that.
No raw onion, you want.
I don't think I've ever had a raw onion on a cheesesteak.
I've had it.
I've had a raw onion on cheesesteak, and it was because it was like a cheesesteak hoagie, and they went with that whole what's it called? Like no,
They went full hoagie.
They went
onion.
full hoagie on me.
Yeah, so instead of like your lunch meats, it was just meat and full cold lettuce and onions and tomatoes and stuff. Kind of throws it off.
Yeah.
So do you guys order anything else outside of fried onions? Is there mushrooms or peppers for you guys?
No.
Like if it's not just straight up cheesesteak, I will do like a bacon cheesesteak or something.
Okay.
Which because that adds it, like a bacon cheeseburger type thing. So it's like, or once in a while, like maybe like a pepperoni or something. But other than that, I'll keep it basic for the most part.
Me and my buddy, we got crazy. We worked at the deli, and when our shift's over, we would make sandwiches for ourselves and whatever, and we would get a cheesesteak. Right, we'd make the cheesesteak. While the cheesesteak's going, we drop mozzarella sticks and drop onion rings. And we get four mozzarella sticks, put them on the bottom. That's your cheese for the cheesesteak. Throw the steak on there and get the fried onions, put them on the top, clobber it kind of together. And still, I wouldn't. He'd add like sprinkled bacon or like the whiz sauce. I'm like, no, dude, that's too much. We called it like the heart attack.
Yeah. That's funny. There's a place in Jersey. I work in Jersey, and they do sandwiches like that.
Yeah.
Like I forget, they specialize in names, so you can get a cheesesteak with mozzarella sticks, chicken fingers, and French fries, and they put all that in a cheesesteak, and it's like amazing. I tried it one time, but it's like too big and too much, so you literally could only eat half of that sandwich.
Well, you shoved your whole meal into a sandwich, but
yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And they do different types of things. Like you could just get mozzarella sticks with onion rings, or like it's just creativeness. And I think it all started from college campuses.
Okay.
Where there were the people were going to, like, I guess the lunch trucks or like the local places to get steaks, and they were all obviously like, low budget. The kids they're in college, so they would ask for extra stuff in their sandwich so they weren't spending that much, and they would just load it up that way and get stuffed off of it. That was the story that I was told. I don't know how true that actually is. Yeah. But it's actually cool though to have different types.
And the thing is though, to rewind back on the toppings for onions, mushrooms, in my opinion, it has to be sauteed. Like I keep hounding down on that, but to just get fresh
in there has to be sauteed. I mean,
or peppers. Like I don't know, just having and it kind of messes with the sandwich. I'm pretty sure someone would prefer that to bite into a cold mushroom or cold pepper while they're eating a hot steak. I have no idea.
Like everything that goes into the cheesesteak has to be on the grill.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, that's a violation.
Yeah. Except, I mean, obviously the point is the cheesesteak hoagie. Usually that's like shredded lettuce and like bits of tomato or something like that. But other than that, like, to me, that's a cheesesteak hoagie. You don't put too much more beyond that.
Yeah. Absolute preference, though, man. You have to eat it there, or you have to eat it within like walking distance.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What happens with deliveries and you go and picking it up yourself? It's sitting in whatever wrap of choice. You'll see them in like wax paper with masking tape. You'll see them in aluminum foil with masking tape, and it depends on how much cheese sauce they put, how much fried onions you got, and it can start dripping. And it's like, oh no, it becomes a soggy disaster and ruins the experience. So in my opinion, the best way to get this is to eat it right there.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
I believe it's Tony Luke's, which is at Phillies Stadium. And I thought that was pretty good, considering, you're at a ballpark. I mean, that's just a portion, like an arm of their quality. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like totally the same thing with Chicky and Pete's. They're all on all these ballparks, but it's like it's not the same as if you were to go there.
Sure.
Directly. I know we were talking about the quality of meat and the amount of meat, right? So some of these places, they get ripped on these these groups on the internet, and they're saying, that steak's is really good if you order double meat. And when they say double meat, that means basically literally the double amount of what you would traditionally get in a single. And there's true for some spots. So terrible story, but not in a negative way. It was just like, oh no, terrible experience, I should say.
Too much.
No, the other way. So me and my wife were like, let's go to this place. Let's order from this place. So we had people over, we had family over, and we were bragging about this one place because the week before, or 2 weeks before, whatever, last time we had it was amazing. This place makes their rolls on site. Oh, wow. And you get this super fresh roll. And so we're like, we have to get this, blah, blah, blah. I kid you not. So we order from this place. We just get traditional cheesesteaks. Somebody had fried onions, whatever. We did the works. And they get there, and it was like, it looked like they ran out of meat or something. Like the one end of the roll. So in a roll, right, you cut the roll in half, right? The bottom part of the roll is still together, right? So the open part is the top.
Yeah.
There was literally the ends of the sliced part were touching each other of the bread.
Oh man.
So like you didn't even see the meat when you opened it up. You didn't even see the meat. It looked like you got a roll of bread.
Yeah.
And so we opened it, and it was like, where's my sandwich? And we called, like, I think they messed up on our order. Dude, they delivered it again the same exact way.
So So you just,
Oh,
you
man.
just put them both together at that point.
It was so bad. But anyway, so that was kind of like we cringed because we bragged about it and we're like, oh, this is going to be so good.
Subpar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
I can understand that.
So I guess that is obviously what some of these places is. It's the chef who makes it too, because they might skimp on the meat and just throw it on there and don't care.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's hit or miss sometimes with the mom and pop shops, whatever it is.
Yeah. And same thing. It's like, I don't prefer when someone said, because again, I used to, cook at a deli and people would ask for ketchup. Everyone's preference on the amount of ketchup is different.
Oh, yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm like, can you get ketchup on the side? Or we have ketchup packets, or when you get here, we can open it up and then, you tell me when to stop kind of thing. But
Yes.
other than that, it just becomes a mess. And when you
Yeah.
close them, it's just like,
Ketchup.
people are like, oh, I want extra ketchup. I'm like, what does extra ketchup mean?
Yeah.
To you versus what it means to me.
Yeah, that's what some of those places who do that. If you sit there waiting in line, like they have all the condiments out there, so as soon as they hand it to you, you just put everything on there.
Yes.
Once.
But that happened to me one time. I ordered ketchup and mayonnaise on the cheesesteak,
Like
and
slathered
they
mayonnaise.
put so much ketchup and so much, and it was like, so instead of putting, like squirting it on there or whatever, they lathered it on one side with ketchup, lathered the other side with mayonnaise. So that's not the point of it. The point of it is to mix it together. So now when I ask for it,
Gross to me.
when I ask for it, I don't ask for it at all. I stop asking for it. I do it myself.
Yeah.
So I know now I get and I'll ask them for ketchup packets because for whatever reason I like the ketchup out of the packet.
Yeah.
And not from the squeeze bottle.
Yeah.
So I'll just throw the mayonnaise on like the way I want and then squirt the ketchup on it. And that's how I do it. Just 'cause
One
it's too
thing
much.
that I saw someone do, and I got to be honest with you, I had to finish eating my steak somewhere. I had to walk away.
It's so disgusting.
I saw someone get the wit. So we got a whiz wit, right? And there's a lot of whiz. These people got whiz happy. I don't know. And then they started squirting ketchup on top of it.
Oh.
So you have this cheese sauce and then you have the ketchup. It was just
top,
on
yeah.
top. It was like
No.
That turned my stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like you can do that with the American 'cause it's
Right.
different.
Right.
Yeah.
But the whiz in itself, it's like I don't know.
There's something.
There's a love-hate thing with ketchup too. I mean, people put it on everything, and it's like, guys, what are we doing?
But there's something different, about the cheese sauce, or even like cheese fries, whatever. Like you don't put ketchup on. You traditionally don't. I mean,
Don't,
I've
yeah.
got it by accident sometimes. Like
Yeah,
whatever,
I've
but-
seen it with people just they get the cheese sauce in a cup and they put ketchup on top of it, so that when they dip their French fry in, they get the cheese and the ketchup, and it's a
but there-
weird combo.
but
You're
there's
right.
something that just it doesn't mesh together. For
Right.
me.
Yeah, it
Right.
just
So-
doesn't.
It's like good for maybe once in a blue, doing whatever, but it's not like an all-time thing.
So to clear up the whole ketchup thing is, yes, you put ketchup only on. You don't have to. This is my preference. Ketchup is only preferred on an American cheesesteak.
Yes.
From a mom and pop shop. Now, if I'm ordering from Gino's, Pat's, or Steve's, just a
It's a
whiz.
no-no.
Just a whiz. Yeah. You don't put ketchup
Again,
on.
you can do
It's a
whatever you want,
preference, but I'm
just
just saying
don't do that.
it is what it is. Yeah.
So, one of the cool things that I did wanted to mention about these big name cheesesteak spots that you hear on TV, and anytime one of our professional teams goes to playoffs and the news channels comes we're gonna have a Philly cheesesteak competition, and it's just so funny. But these places are literally open 24 hours a day, so
Yeah,
we
that's
can
insane.
leave right now, or you could be studying up all night till 2 in the morning and you're so stressed out, but you can literally go to the corner to one of these places and get a cheesesteak. And that is just one of the most classic, iconic, things. And when you are in Philly, stop at it, even if it is one of the bigger names. But once you go to the bigger names, just try it, and then you'll see well, what else is there? And you talk to the locals, and they'll point you into other directions. Well, try this if you like that, if you like this. Experience. I just think it's so cool that we have something that it's really good. It's not just saying that we're talking about it because it's from the area. It's legit. It's banging. I don't know what else to say.
So good.
So right now we're going to go around the table and just say what you get from the mom and pop shop and what you would get from one of the more traditional just cheesesteak spots. So for me, it's whiz wit. And then I will get the occasional American wit. Just depends on what mood I'm in for your traditional cheesesteak place. And if it's a mom and pop shop, I never get the whiz from there because I have no idea what they're using.
Yeah.
It's always American wit extra cheese, and that's just my classic
Extra
order
cheese.
for me from a mom and pop shop.
Yeah, I'm American with or American without most of the time. Every once in a while, I like the fried onions on there. So
Yeah.
every once in a while, I'll get the American without or with. And I think both. Oh, that's just my favorite way of having the cheesesteak. Either where it's a steak store or one of the steak spots, or my mom and pop. I just like it the same way.
Gabe?
So yeah, so like the South Philly style whiz with, American, like the mom and pops is generally like the American with, or and like I said, once in a while put like bacon or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the South Philly style would be.
A lot of ketchup and mayonnaise.
No.
Oh, and for the mom and pop shop one, I'm putting. I would traditionally.
So
put
I
ketchup.
don't like. I'm not. I like it. Not a fan of the fried onions on the whiz. So I usually get whiz without the steak shops, but the mom and pop shops, that's where I'll get the fried onions on it for some reason. I guess it's just the texture of the American cheese and the texture of the way the steak is chopped up. So from a mom and pop shop, it'll be regular cheesesteak, fried onions, depending on the mood, ketchup and mayo, or just cheesesteak.
All right, so there you have it. If you haven't tried a cheesesteak from our area, the Philadelphia area, please do. We love them. We embrace it. Everyone's going to have their preference. Everyone's going to have their location preference. They're going to have their style preference. Again, you be the judge. Enjoy, because we sure as hell do. Matter of fact, right after this, I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
All right, so we like to wrap things up with quotes, and the first one is by Julia Child. The only time to eat diet food is while you're waiting for your steak to cook. Second one is by M.F.K. Fisher. First we eat, then we do everything else. Cheesesteaks. In this episode, the crew is all about the food talk. We cover topics that range from mom and pop shops, food chains, Philly's obsession, place in order, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Julia Child and M.F.K. Fisher. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.